better, but he's just far too injury prone. So I think we do need to kind of get a bit more quality in on the wings. But I think it's really shifty. I think it's clearly not going to work out with Skefovic. I think Skefovic will be maybe going loan in January. Guidetti, we need to see if he gets a bit of form back. So we do need another couple of strikers in there, and I think Shifty gives a bit more movement than what Guidetti does. I think Shifty's more mobile. Guidetti looks quite slow, doesn't he? He's quite a big, bulky boy, but he doesn't seem to have a lot of movement. He does seem a bit slow.
Shifty?
No, Guidetti seems a bit slow.
Oh, Guidetti,
got a bit more movement, a bit more flexibility about him.
I agree. That's what I quite like about it. I think he's similar, but I do think he's got a bit, as you say, a bit more movement about him. But he's quite similar in the way he kind of, it's like his head down and he's running. He knows where he wants to go with the ball. He's not blessed with a tremendous amount of pace, but he's certainly got more than Guidetti has. But I mean, Guidetti's the better player, don't get me wrong, but I think for the money that you would get Shifty at, his experience in the league, if we couldn't get Guidetti, he might be an option.
Because I mean, you look at the amount of money we've wasted in strikers in the past, with Pukki, Bangura, Skepovic. I mean, there's...
Oh, you're writing them off?
Not totally, but we're getting there. You're getting there.
He was when you were in the toilet. He was writing it.
Skepovic for me is just like every other striker that's came in recently. I want the guy to do really, really well, but I just don't think it's going to happen.
I also think in the system, you're usually just going to play one out-and-out striker. And you have Guidetti, you have Griffith, and you have Skepovic. So, and I don't really see any of them playing wide. So you basically got three strikers there who I all think got qualities, and even Skepovic, if they had a good run in the team, they can put a few goals together. So I think the only scenario where we bring in an out-and-out striker is if Guidetti doesn't sign, somebody else goes out alone, because you got those three guys there, and I think that's more than enough to fill the strength and depth in that situation. I'm not going to go into the put two strikers up top, so thereby we're going to score more goals debate, because it's nonsensical. But yeah, only way I can see Shifty coming in is if Guidetti goes or somebody else goes out.
Well, can I say something in defense of the two strikers up front? I think that it is definitely it doesn't follow naturally or necessarily. Let's say that just because you play 4-4-2, you're going to score more goals. There's no relationship there. But the issue is, how can we get more shots coming from in the box? Okay, and you can do that, in several ways. One way is to have a system where the attacking midfielders get into the box, okay, instead of shooting, trying to shoot wonder goals, all game long. Or you can have a second striker, or a second individual who's in a more advanced position, and try and get more shots in the box that way. I think the better way to get more shots in the box is the system that we currently have, but yet we're still shooting a lot from outside the box, and this whole wonder goal mentality is part of the problem. It's like, oh my God, he shot from midfield and it went in the net, and then people go crazy, like, how amazing that is. It's like, no, that's stupid. That's a stupid thing to do. Why are we doing that? So, the wonder goals really should be like the tap in, for me, like right there, right in front of the net, boom, just put it in. So I think that, if they can't get more productivity in terms of shots in the box out of these current players, then I think it's definitely worth experimenting with a 4-4-2 in this team. It's not necessarily the future for the club, but I think it's worth experimenting.
I think the other problem with that is with a lot of teams that we play against, they sit in really defensively, so you're not really going to have the opportunity to shoot in the box because there's so many players in the box defending, and you just don't have the opportunity, which is why I think a lot of the players tend to shoot from out with the box, because obviously there's a better chance, there's more sight at goal because there's there's not as many players near you. Whereas inside the box, you could have about 6 or 7 other defenders with a couple of other players. So it's just far too crammed, I think, and that's the issue with Celtic beating teams is, especially with Parkhead. It's always Parkhead. They just come and they just sit in, and we've not got the quality to break down a team that sits in, and you can see it in our performances at home compared to away. Because when you go to away, some of the teams have to play a bit because it can't be acceptable being a home team sitting defending all game. So I think it should be a mixture of both. But I think it also needs help. But you need to stretch the game to kind of create that space in the box to get more of those shots in. So I think a bit of both. I think a bit more. I think a bit more quality in the actual striking, with the finishing, and get a lot more on target.
Good stuff, Ciaran. I was going to jump to Twitter quickly. We have a few questions. Martin McKeown at Martin M195 asking who's got the best hair in football and who's the best fat footballer? So the obvious answer to fat footballer is Louis Ronaldo when he was fat, certainly. Undoubtedly. It's not even a question. He has posted a picture of a very fat Thomas Brolin.
I like that photo.
It's a belter.
He was. Hartson was a good fat player. Could upset a lot of players and our people and say Chris Commons.
I think there's only one candidate when it comes to a genuinely good fat player, and that's Jan Mulby.
I knew he was going to say that. Jan Mulby had breasts, but what player? Are we going to talk about hair?
If you want, Chris Gallagher isn't here. He'll be gutted by that.
Ewingberger.
But he's got great hair, fantastic hair. All-time favourite footballing haircut, still Carlos Valderrama.
It's got to be, isn't
That is like a rainstorm of curls, a cacophony of hair coming off the top of his head. Oh, it's just fucking wonderful.
I think that the Bulgarian World Cup team in 1994 had a great collection of different hairs in terms of baldness, wigs, mullets. That's one of the
alphabet of hair.
ones. Yeah.
Baggio had quite a good mullet for a while, and it was Roberto Baggio. So
He did. I mean, Il Divino Cadino. It was wonderful.
Danny Osvaldo's always his hair game's quite strong. Has been for a few years. Quite impressed with
You
that.
look at the random ones like Paul Pogba's just now. I mean, what's that about? And then there's another guy, and he seems to have like a third of his hair. His head, he's got a bit of hair there, but not straight in the head. It's like off at an angle.
Well,
Can't think who that was.
Vidal's get the
Well,
mental hairdo as well. It's not Vidal, is
No,
it?
it's not Vidal. I can't think of who it was.
At Juventus.
Don't you feel like the league is really bad this year in terms of hair? Don't you feel like it's like a really poor hair season for the league this year?
Seth, I mean, Louis and I have got a real problem with Charlie Mulgrew being at Celtic, and not only is his form dipped, his hair. I mean, his hair was tremendous last season, and this year it's
no coincidence.
It is no coincidence.
It's no coincidence. His form has dropped since he started.
But it's not just him. It's not just him. Like, look at what happened to James Forrest's hair. I mean, look, he's got an afro.
Yeah, he can guarantee.
What is-
He can guarantee we are the only football podcast anywhere that would discuss players in terms of their hair.
And Seth actually do the stats.
Yeah, give us some stats, Steph.
I'll have to work some up. Yeah, I'll have to invent some new way of quantifying the frowiness of footballers' hair.
Charlie Mulgrew's form dependent on hair choice. That'd be quite good.
the only time I've ever looked at a Celtic player's hair and thought that won't do was when Żurawski signed for us, and he came in and it looked as if they had started the haircut back in Poland, and it was due to be finished at some point when he arrived.
He got the phone call in the barbers. Shit, I'll get over there.
That was up there with the all-time worst haircuts at Celtic, I think.
I think honourable mention.
This just came alive now because we're talking about football players.
We're all sitting forward as well. Loving it. Henrik Larsson with the dreadlocks. That's got to be a all-time favourite.
That was a risky move, Larson.
Shaving it?
You're shaving it, yeah. You know, that could have gone wrong, but
Do you know what I remember when Larsson came to Celtic, as I'm sure some of the listeners might as well, but
Who was this? Sorry?
but I remember reading first of all about dreadlocks, and you can't wash dreadlocks when they're in. You can't wash your hair. You put in like dry shampoo, and then when you cut them off, there's all sorts of shit growing into them and stuff like that. And I just thought, you know, it was a risky move, but you know, maybe it was time for a wee wash. Do you know? Just thought I'd throw that in.
He joined the ball coverhood, and I think it was the right move.
Yeah,
You've never looked back.
I certainly haven't. I probably did Lane for Larsson as well, but
that's what you did, though.
it's a story for another day. So, I think we're in agreement with Valderrama, maybe?
I'd vote for Valderrama.
Yeah. I'd also like to know, it was over an hour before we mentioned Charlie Mulgrew. So well done, lads.
Right, let's get towed in.
Good job. You restrained yourself quite admirably.
We're off the leash now, though.
Yes. We had a few other questions. We had one about Europe, but before we get into that, I did want to actually ask Chris about Inter Milan's recent form, because they have been taking an upturn in form. Chris, would you agree?
Yep. I think one of the last podcasts I was talking about how Mancini coming in hadn't really had much of an effect on their form. Looks like I gave them the Midas touch in reverse from me saying that, you know, because they are they've certainly improved. They've steadied the ship. They've brought in Podolski, and they're bringing in Shaqiri, I believe, from Bayern Munich.
Oh, he's signed.
Is he signed? Has it been confirmed? Well, I think they can only play one player who's come in from the Champions League, but Shaqiri's a fine player.
Maybe signing Salah for Chelsea as well, if Chelsea can get a replacement.
I seen that they were linked with him. He's a player that I do think's quite good, and he would kind of add to the Inter squad. But a lot of their players are. I've talked about them being inconsistent. They're starting to find consistency. I've had my doubts about Mancini, whether or not he's a good manager or not. He's certainly bringing stability to the club at precisely the wrong time for us.
I was going to say, I think the Europa League draw really put the fear of God in them, and they said, you know, we need to do something here, or else we're just going to get humiliated.
Well, I think they thought that the prospect of Callum McGregor, Charlie Mulgrew and Chris Commons coming at them probably did cause them to up their game. But do you know, I've obviously I watch as much Italian football as I can. I haven't seen too much of Inter, actually. I've just been kind of basing it on seeing their results and reading match reports. But certainly there's guys there who, under Mazzarri, they weren't performing consistently. We've touched on it before in previous podcasts that they absolutely had a lot of talent in their squad. If they can turn that around and make these guys perform week in, week out, we are in a fair bit of trouble.
And the question that was on Twitter that kind of linked into that was from My T Sharp. At
Is that
My
the name
T
of the
Sharp.
barber shop in coming to America?
Yes.
Have you even seen Come to It? Do you know who Eddie Murphy is, DJ?
No,
you young
not a clue.
bastard. What is this? Velvet? This is beautiful. Could be. We'll maybe tweet him. Does Sutton have a point? No, he doesn't. We'll just end the question there. Does Sutton have a point re the futility of playing an open formation versus superior players in Europe? So, do we think Chris Sutton's right?
Going to need to repeat the question for me.
Yeah, so Sutton's came out and said that it'd be futile essentially playing such an open formation against what are clearly superior players that we'll be coming up against in Europe.
This might be one. Well, Christian, I mean, I can see the merits of not doing that, but based on what you've said about Dylan, what I've seen from him before and stuff, will he? I don't think he will.
Well, I think the premise of the questions and Chris Sutton's point as well is that it is a very open formation now. I think it's an attacking formation. I don't know how open it is. And I think obviously I think Dyla is the kind of manager, as you say, that will stick to his principle and his formations, but obviously you